So we were speaking about Bristol's disco, and then I got into Teddy's involvement in the business and how Teddy became a Calibishie name, a Calibishie girl, and how the real estate business was birthed. Now, there was real estate in Dominica before, but not to the extent that we got it in Calibishie, because Calibishie is just so scenic and so beautiful and flat and clean, and that is what I think was used to sell Calibishie, and Calibishie actually started getting sold to the point where I got concerned, very, very concerned, and I became a member of the Calibishie Council somewhere in the mid-80s, 1985 or 86. I think I was about 19, 18, 19, somewhere thereabout, but I was like the youngest councillor. I'm not too sure whether there has since been a youngest councillor, and I served on the council with people like, I think Froggy was there, Angelo was there still. I'm not too sure who was the chair, but Ma Sugars was our secretary, and I served on the Calibishie Council because I wanted to help to fight to save Calibishie's land. But at that time, as a teenage boy, what could I have done now? People probably didn't see the idea I was trying to bring out. And fast forward to the 90s, I'll go back to the 80s, but the 90s or somewhere 2000, somewhere thereabout, somewhere no, before 2000, somewhere 1995, I tried joining the council again because I was still concerned that the lands in Calibishie were being sold rapidly without any deliberate planning, because I wanted to get on the council so I could help to address those situations. And I actually did my papers for nomination and nomination for elections, and so, and I was challenged by a villager who said that I do not live, I do not reside in Calibishie. I was residing in Roseau, but I was in Calibishie every week, every day, every weekend, because I mean I came to see my Mo, I came to be in the village as everybody else who live outside and inside. But I was taken out of the run, so I could not again join the council. So I served once as a teenager in the 80s, and I tried getting on somewhere around 95, and I think it was Mr. Walter who was the member for my constituency in Parliament and the minister responsible for that, and they threw me off, so I could not serve on the council. But I wanted to serve because of the same idea of the land. I just felt that, yeah, we can have our real estate business, but I think there should be a kind of a policy in place to safeguard the lands, because I think too much of the land was going into foreign hands, and people were trying to build barriers around the land, and people were buying agricultural land and putting residential buildings, and it was taking away the productive land, you know. So I had some issues, and I wanted to serve on my council to see if we could help to call attention to that. But long story short, it's not about me, it's about the story, although the story is about me as well. But that is how I believe that real estate thing kick out, because of Bristol Lawrence, his wife Teddy, who came to Calibishie. I'm not too sure how she came. Bristol is going to have to tell us that. But I know she was in Calibishie for a good while, and she was part of the disco experience. And Bristol was one of the major entrepreneurs, the movers and shakers of Calibishie, and his discos lasted a very long time. The difference between Bristol disco and, let's say, the number one disco in the north, in Marigot, Ghost-Town Harlem, was that the Ghost-Town Harlem was not covered completely. The center part of the Harlem was left open, and all around was covered with galvanized, and it was done with the same telephone post and bamboo and so on. It was a lovely disc, a lovely little entertainment center in Marigot, and it was put to great use too. Big international artists would come to perform at Ghost-Town Harlem, and I think that's one of the centers of our culture that we have lost in the Northeast, as well as the others in the other villages. As I said, every village had a little disco, because the 1980s was the time of the disco, the Afro, the BEEBOP. Well, the BEEBOP happened before. The BEEBOP might have, my father was in the BEEBOP days, and my father, well, I mean, my father was my father. So I think the BEEBOP was the thing at the time. In the 80s, it was the Afro, the bell bottom, and the shoes. Well, the shoes again, the high heel. That was the instinct. No, I didn't wear it because I was not fashionable at that time. I was still a boy, younger. But the bigger men would be in the serious high heel SABO, bell bottom pants. Women too, and the afro, flashing the huge afro. That was a sight to behold. I suspect we should roll back the 80s and have a fashion show in Calibishie. People like Mayo and them dress up in the as they would have dressed up in the 1980s. So that's it in terms of the discotheque in Calibishie. I can speak about the details in terms of who was dancing in the disco and how the bigger girls like Valley sometimes would go outside of the disco to dance, because outside of Bristol disco is a wall facing the sea. So the bigger girls would go there and they would dance. Well, yeah, but it appears as if they were dancing. Anyway, let me leave that alone before Valley get fits on me, because we're going to speak about the Solid 7 and Valley name might come up again. So that's it in terms of the discotheque business. We'll move on to other discussions on the next episode.